The other day, I asked you guys to ask me some questions. I haven't done an Ask Me Anything in a while, so I thought I'd take some time and answer some of your burning questions about debt, minimalism, me as a person. So let's get into it. It's been a while. Also, if anyone wanted a wardrobe update, I am filming in jeans. This is a feat. I might have to unbutton them, but I did say I am trying to get more wear out of the things that I want to be wearing, jeans being one of them. So we're doing this today. And for those of you who don't know me, welcome. My name is Christina. I talk all about minimalism, intentional living, and intentional spending. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And while you're at it, please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up just for that, because right now I might have to, I'm gonna undo the button already. So we'll just get right into it. How would your life look like right now if you had never become a minimalist? Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I would still be buried in mountains of debt. I probably would be acquiring more debt, and I think I would still be blaming my situation, where I lived, others around me, instead of taking responsibility for my own actions, and instead of really taking myself on a journey of getting to know myself. I think one thing going through the process of minimalism has really shown me is that I've really gotten to know myself and also really have gotten to like myself. I think I would try to pacify feelings of inadequacy and failure, disappointment in myself for not being where I was supposed to be. And I was pacifying that and distracting myself from dealing with those feelings and taking responsibility by continuing to buy things and continuing to find the next solution. And I can tell you with certainty, if I hadn't found minimalism, if I hadn't buckled down on my debt and really decided to make a change and take ownership of the behaviors and choices that I was making, I would still be in the same place as I was when I started. So I really have minimalism and choosing to get out of debt and choosing to change my life to thank for that. Do you think it's possible to be a minimalist while still having a lot of stuff or clothes? This, I think, is a really interesting question, because I actually get a lot of kind of judgmental comments about my videos when I share like how much clothes I still have, the decluttering process, things like that. And I'm putting that out there to share the real experience with you guys. I think a lot of times on YouTube and on social media in general, people tend to show the end result, and they show kind of how that end result has changed their lives and why it would be great for you. And I think that's all amazing, but I think there's a lot of value in seeing the process itself, which I really try to focus on taking you guys with me on that, because it's messy, it's difficult, it's not zeros and ones, it's very gray and takes time. Do I think you can be a minimalist and still have a lot of stuff? Yeah, I do. Because for me, minimalism is, it's a bit about the stuff, but it's not all about the stuff. And for me, the true value that I have gained from minimalism is embracing that mindset. For me, that's what minimalism brought. It brought me detachment from those things. It's having the mindset to want to have less, to be able to let go of more. But that letting go part, for me anyway, takes time. So yeah, it still looks like I have a lot of clothes. It still looks like I have a lot of stuff. And I think it takes time for the mindset to match the aesthetic that a lot of people expect minimalism to be, which I don't really agree with. If you love books, if you love music, if you love video games or even clothes, as long as you are using those things and they're bringing you joy and you're revisiting the things that you're not using, I really don't see why it's bad to have a large collection of that. Because if you have a minimalist mindset, then over time you're still going to be going through that stuff and you'll be able to let go of it when you want to. But if it brings you joy, if it brings you happiness and it doesn't overwhelm you, I don't see why you still can't connect with the idea of minimalism that way. I think with minimalism, it's really hard to disconnect the idea that all stuff is bad. It's okay to have stuff. It's okay to have things and curate and edit the things that bring you joy. I don't think minimalism fits into a certain mold, into any kind of box. I think it's about the mindset, and I think it's about continuously being able to grow within that mindset. I know you were paying down debt, but do you save money, or is all your extra money going towards debt? So I am I'm not saving right now at all. I just have my $1,000 emergency fund. And that to me has worked well for the past 2 years that I've been doing this plan, my debt repayment plans. And that's because I currently have the security of having a regular paycheck and being employed full time. So the $1,000 for me was enough. If it's not enough for you and whatever debt repayment journey you're on, then do whatever works for you. But the $1,000 worked for me. So I'm currently not saving any money. I am still living paycheck to paycheck because I am aggressively paying down my debt. So I create a budget at the beginning of every single month, and my budget I check literally every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, because I am always updating it, sort of modifying it, changing things up. And it's part of my daily process so that I can always stay on top of where my money is going and how I'm spending it. And my goal within my budget every month is to put as much down onto my debt as I can. For me personally, trying to save money and pay off debt at the same time is too much. It's trying to do too many things, and that's what I was doing for many years before I decided to buckle down on my debt. I was trying to save in my tax-free savings account. I was investing into retirement. I was contributing to a pension. I was saving for vacations. So by the time I got around to needing to pay off my debt, I would really only ever make like just barely above the minimum payment. I think it was just trying to do too many things. So for me, I'm covering my living expenses. I'm covering all of my four walls. And here and there, I am still, if I want to buy something or if there's something that I have plans to pay for that month, then I will allocate funds in my budget for it. But no, I'm not saving anything beyond what I have in my emergency fund already, and the rest that is excess is going to debt. And that's how I plan to get out as fast as I can. If you need to save and having a certain level in your emergency fund gives you anxiety and makes you anxious, I think it's your choice. I think it's up to you. Having the 1,000 really works for me, and then getting aggressive on the rest of it really helps because it just builds this momentum and confidence and this feeling of yes, I am so close. So that's why I've chosen to do that, because it really did change my outlook and my behavior, and it keeps me motivated to keep going and get that balance to zero, that delicious zero balance. Okay, so there were a couple of questions about when I say we in my videos. So people are asking about my relationship. So am I in a relationship? So yes, I do have a partner. His name is Jeff. He has appeared in 1 or 2 of my videos on the channel in its history, but he's not very much of a social media guy, anything like that. But yes, I do have a boyfriend. I do have a longtime partner. And yeah, maybe I'll have him on the channel eventually. We'll see. I mean, he's been on the channel, but maybe we'll have him back is what I'm saying. This is actually a really good question. What behaviors or habits did you use to replace shopping? So for the longest time, shopping was definitely my hobby. It's something that I did to fill time, to have something to do. To be honest, I really didn't have any other hobbies or interests for a very long time, and I would fill all that time with shopping. If I had a day off on a weekend, for example, before I decided to take myself on this journey, I would travel down to Bloor Street and spend the day walking around and shopping, or I would travel to the Eaton Center or some big mall that I hadn't visited yet, and that would be my day, and that would be how I spent my time. Besides my 9-to-5 job, I really had nothing to contribute, which I think is why I frequently turned to consumption to fill my time. So when I did decide to stop shopping and change my behavior, at that point I had a blog that I was writing, a fashion blog. I had started this YouTube channel, and I had an Instagram account that I was shooting outfits with and spending a lot of time on, and those were my hobbies and consuming my time. But when I did decide to really stop shopping was when I really dove more seriously into this YouTube channel. And I really shifted my focus from consuming to creating. So that really helped me sort of distract myself from shopping, but it also helped me find my purpose and really sort of think about all of my behaviors and reflect and really start to get to know myself too. So this YouTube channel has really been not only did it give me something to do besides shopping, but it's really helped me reflect and help me get to know myself. It's really been a part of that whole journey. So I think that's pretty awesome. I think a lot of us use shopping as a tool to distract ourselves, to fill time, to fill boredom, to have something to do. It's pretty common. But I think the problem with that is that shopping is consumption, and it takes so much away from us. It might be fun to go do that for a day with like your mom or your family or your friends, but the joy in that is the time you're spending with those people. It's not the search for that perfect white shirt or that perfect lipstick. So don't get me wrong, I think shopping can be fun and a really and something to do to create experiences. But if you're doing it like to fill your time all the time and to have something to do, I think that's when it can start to really take away so much more than it gives, because it takes away our money, it takes away our time, it takes away our time and effort and mental energy later when we have to think about how to wear it, what to do with this, how to take care of it, to wash it, to clean it, to find space for it. And especially if you're doing this on top of being in debt and on top of having other financial goals, like shopping is not a healthy hobby when it starts to become that instead of something fun to do with family or friends. So if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I really think focusing on creating and focusing on things that are nourishing to you, that bring you happiness, bring you peace, and actually contribute to your well-being more than shopping ever could. So is that fitness? Is it working out? Is it going to yoga? Is it taking up a yoga practice? Is it meditating? Is it journaling? Is it art therapy, like playing with watercolor or crocheting or knitting? I think a lot of the things that feel nourishing to us as like human beings and people, I think it's centered around creating and finding a purpose. So finding something that gives back to you in terms of your peace, your self-care, your well-being, or gives back to others and your community. I think those are all things that we can start thinking about to replace shopping with. Who or what inspired you to become a minimalist? So my introduction to minimalism really came from the documentary on Netflix called Minimalism that talked about the stories of Josh and Ryan of The Minimalists, and also directed by Matt D'Avella, who is another person who really inspired my minimalism journey. But I really remember my first introduction to the world of minimalism was through that documentary. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix, check it out. And it really got me questioning a lot about consumption and the value and connection and worth that we put on things rather than ourselves, other people, and experiences. I would say my boyfriend Jeff has also really inspired me in terms of minimalism because he has always pretty much been a minimalist. He always like sort of jokingly ask or like point to things around and be like, what are you doing with that? Why is that there? I guess, repetition is the father of all learning. So he would ask me that question sort of over and over and over again when it came to the stuff that was lying around. And it was always my stuff that was causing clutter and just around the apartment. Bless him as a minimalist living with a non-minimalist. But I think being around him so long, him asking me these questions over and over and over again, me sort of seeing his closet with my closet or how he would travel compared to how I would travel and pack my clothes, things like that. It really he really helped me see how little we actually need, and also kind of how much we think we need and how little we actually end up using out of that. So living with a minimalist really helped. But if you don't live with a minimalist, I think, Josh and Ryan of The Minimalists, they really get deep into the why of minimalism, why to declutter, why to detach from things. Matt D'Avella also really helped inspire a lot of my minimalist journey in a more practical way. I find his approach to minimalism is not as extreme and intimidating, and there really is no pressure in the way that he presents minimalism, to get rid of all your stuff and sleep on a mattress, and that's it. I noticed there's a lot of men who have inspired me, but if that's not your thing, there are a lot of great women in the industry too, like Courtney Carver, the founder of Project 333. We have a small wardrobe right here on YouTube. I absolutely love her channel. I absolutely love her view on minimalism, but also really focusing on the things that bring you joy. So in her case, it's fashion and curating a wardrobe and a personal style that she feels her best in. There's plenty of resources, men, women, and people who you can really garner a lot of inspiration from when it comes to your own minimalist journey. And all of them together have a very similar viewpoint when it comes to minimalism, but they all put it into practice in their own way. And I think that's what's really valuable. How to stop treating yourself with shopping. I think I'll probably do a whole video on this. How to stop treating yourself with shopping, and then she puts a crying emoji there. So that to me says a lot. We're telling ourselves we're treating ourselves with shopping, but then we're adding a crying emoji and kind of inferring that I know what I did probably wasn't the best idea. This is probably something that I do a lot. How do I stop this cycle? How do I stop justifying what I'm doing that might be setting me back or that's causing me stress or any of those things? How do I stop justifying that as treating myself? I posted a little meme thing on my Instagram and it says, going broke to treat yourself is not self-care. And I fully agree with that. And that's sort of what I'm getting at to answer this question here. It's not treating yourself if it's stressing you out. So I think really stepping back and thinking hard about what you're doing before you do it, before you spend the money, before you bring the thing into your space, before you swipe the card or add to cart. It's really paying attention to the idea that, is it really treating yourself if you feel stressed out? So I think what's really helped me to stop treating myself when it comes to shopping and buying things, even something as simple as takeout or like beers on the weekend, things like that. Really starting to shift the focus from a short-term instant gratification and really widen your perspective to a more long-term lens, to a long-term viewpoint. Because those short-term decisions really compound over time and really do push back your long-term goals. Like, I think about when I feel good about a purchase versus when I feel bad about one. And when I feel good about a purchase, I know that I have budgeted for it, I have saved the money for it, I have thought about it for a long time. There's intentional thought that goes into it versus like a short-term purchase or an impulse purchase. It's really fun to say like YOLO or I work hard or I'm treating myself. But then immediately after you make that purchase, like what's your gut feeling? How does it feel literally in your tummy? Do you start thinking about your Visa bill? Do you start saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that? And thinking about why that might be your immediate thought as opposed to, yes, I'm so excited for this to come. If you say you're treating yourself and then add a crying emoji at the end of it, whether it be literally in text or just in your belly, then really start to think on whether that is truly treating yourself. To me, treating myself is doing something for myself that contributes to my own self-care, my own well-being, and my sense of peace. And if I'm going further and further into debt and rationalizing my way through the purchase and justifying my guilt and start to really sort of shame myself, and then I don't think whatever I did was truly treating myself. So really think about how that purchase, how that thing is nourishing you, and I think more importantly, how it's treating you. So Bryn asks, what are you looking forward to post-debt? So what is my next focus once that milestone is achieved? I don't want to say I'm scared to see what it feels like to be debt-free, but I feel like I have just been like living with this student loan and my party line has been, oh, I'm getting out of debt. Oh, once I get out of debt, once I'm debt-free. It's been that for so long that I'm kind of curious to know what my life is going to be like without it, but I can tell you I feel this unquestionable sense of relief when I think about that feeling once I'm debt-free. I kind of mentioned this in my video of my 2021 goals. So once I become fully debt-free, I'm going to focus next on funding my fully funded, I'm going to make it a 6-month emergency fund. And then after that, I really want to focus on building up funds for a down payment. So I'm going to kind of have my head down and just pushing through for the next year or two, even post being debt-free. But it's going to be awesome to know that that money is finally mine and it's my choice as to what I do with it or not. I remember thinking for many years, especially at the beginning of my debt-free journey, you know, once I'm debt-free, once my money is mine, then I can buy that Chanel bag. I'll be able to afford it. Or once I'm debt-free, I'll be able to buy those Alexander Wang boots or this jacket and that. All the things that were on my wish list, I can get. And that mindset really shifted when I discovered minimalism, because now I'm kind of like, well, that Chanel bag is beautiful, but why do I need it? Is there somewhere else I'd rather put my money? Is it on travel? Is it on getting a little doggy of my own and funding his emergency fund? Is it being able to work less at my full-time job and create more? So now I'm starting to think about what my money can do that's important to me, and a lot of those things are not things anymore. I'm too attached to what everyone thinks of me, so I shop to keep up that appearance. Any tips for learning how to unlearn this mindset? I think really starting to figure out and accept the fact that no one gives a shit. It really doesn't matter, and I don't know how to say it so that you actually believe it, because I've heard that so many times throughout my life, and it took me a while for it to actually click and be like, yeah. So I'll tell you sort of what clicked for me when I realized that nobody cares, or that more so when I realized that I don't care if they care. I was going to a like blogger event pre-quarantine, obviously, and I showed up in like my uniform. I had like ripped jeans, I had a white t-shirt on, I had some fun boots out of my collection, and I was wearing a blazer, red lipstick, and like that's my look. And I showed up, and there were all sorts of people in like dresses and jumpsuits, and people were looking really feminine and done up, and almost like wedding, almost like formal attire. And I walked in and I just felt so out of place. But it kind of reminded me of the scene in Legally Blonde when she gets invited to a costume party and it's not a costume party, and she's just kind of like, you know? That's kind of how I felt. I'm like, well, I'm here, I'm owning it, and I'm in my uniform, and I am wearing what I feel good in. So I'm just gonna own it, and I'm gonna start mingling, and I'm gonna start talking to people, and eventually you start forgetting about what you're wearing and what you look like. So that was one experience that I had to sort of sit in that discomfort and tell myself that you're here, you're worthy, you're valuable. It doesn't matter that I have ripped jeans and everyone else has dresses on. Who cares? Maybe I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb, but it doesn't make me any less of a human being at this event. And if people want to talk behind my back, if people were like, ooh, I can't believe that she wore that. Did you see what she was wearing? Like, do I really want to be talking to these people anyway? It's really shifting the focus back on yourself. What do you feel good in? What makes you feel good about yourself? Recognizing that you're just as valuable and as worthy as anybody else in the room. And you have something to contribute. So what you're wearing. And what everybody else is thinking, straight up. There are some questions about pharmacy. So if you guys don't know, I am a pharmacist. I am a full-time pharmacist. And then I do this baby on the side. So what got you into pharmacy? What do you work as a pharmacist? Are you planning on getting a higher degree in the field? So I am a pharmacist, which means that I am a specialist in medication adherence, managing medical conditions with medication, and managing the side effects with that. So if you see the person in the white coat at your local pharmacy, that's what I do. We don't just count by fives. We don't just put labels on a box. We are assessing to ensure that the medication that was prescribed is appropriate, is safe, is something that the patient will actually take, is something that the patient can afford to take. For a while I felt like my job is kind of weird because a lot of it is us like looking for mistakes. Kind of being like, hey doc, are you sure you want to prescribe that? Maybe this might be better. Our role is very collaborative with both the patients and the care providers, whether it be like your physician, the nurse practitioner, things like that. So we are kind of the gateway into making sure people take their medications properly and are using them for the right reasons. So that's what I do. Why I got into pharmacy, I think in high school I was a fairly well-rounded student. I was definitely like a type A overachiever. Yeah, so I chose pharmacy and I started working in a pharmacy since I was like 16 years old. And I really liked the sort of sense of community and consistency that a pharmacist can bring to a patient in the community. Like if you really think about it, you see your pharmacist more than you see your doctor a lot of the time. So we do a lot as a pharmacist, so please be patient with your pharmacist when you're waiting for your prescription, because there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes than just putting a label on a box. So I hope that answered some of your questions about me, about low buy, about debt, about money, about minimalism, sort of anything that you guys might have been curious about. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. And I think some of your questions, they were really good. So I am planning to make some dedicated videos going sort of deeper into those topics about minimalism, money, investing, things like that. So be sure you're subscribed. Why do I always do like a thumbs up to say subscribe? I get very confused. So be sure you're subscribed to make sure you don't miss any of the videos coming up. Leave this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you have any other questions for me, then leave them in the comments down below and I'll see if I can get to them in another AMA. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. And I am taking these shoes off. This is ridiculous. Like, what?